Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Listen, there's a seismic shift potentially happening with the Philadelphia Phillies right now, and most people are completely missing what this actually means for the franchise. The reports came out this weekend that the Phillies are seriously interested in Bo Bichette, one of the top free agents still available, and this isn't just some casual tire kicking. This is Dave Dombrowski looking at his roster and realizing he needs to make a bold move to push this team over the top. John Heyman, who's one of the most connected and credible reporters covering baseball, listed the Phillies among the big market suitors showing real interest in Bichette. That's not speculation. That's legitimate interest from an organization that knows their championship window is right now, and they need to maximize every opportunity to win. Bo Bichette is 27 years old, turns 28 in March, so he'll be 28 throughout the entire 2026 season. He's entering his prime years, and whoever signs him is getting a proven all-star with serious offensive upside. Now, I've talked about the possibility of the Phillies signing Bichette a few times already this offseason, so I'm not going to dive super deep into every statistical category. If you want that level of detail, you can check out the previous videos on this channel where I break down his numbers and what he brings to the table. But the quick version is this. Bichette is a guy with legitimate 40-plus doubles, 20-plus home runs, 100-plus RBI, and 300 batting average potential. He's done all of those things at various points in his career, some of them multiple times. He's a two-time All-Star who's played exclusively shortstop throughout his major league career with the Blue Jays, but here's where it gets interesting for the Phillies. Bichette made it known at the start of free agency that he's willing to play second base. He actually played second base during the World Series this past year against the Dodgers, his only real experience at the position at the major league level. But he showed he can handle it, and more importantly, he's open to making that transition if it means landing with the right team. That flexibility is huge for a team like the Phillies, who already have Trea Turner locked in long-term at shortstop. If you're going to bring in Bichette, you need him to be willing to move positions, and he's already publicly stated he'll do it. That opens up real possibilities for how this roster could be constructed moving forward. Let's talk about what Bichette would bring offensively, because this is where it gets really exciting for Philadelphia. In a hitter-friendly park like Citizens Bank Park, you're looking at a guy who could hit 300 with 25 to 30 home runs, 75 to 100 RBIs, and 40-plus doubles annually. That's not projection or hope. That's based on what he's already done in Toronto, and the park factors in Philadelphia would only help his numbers. He hit 348 in the World Series last year with a home run and 6 RBIs. Yes, he missed the end of the regular season and most of the playoffs with an injury, but when he was on the field in the biggest moments, he produced. The Blue Jays came up short against the Dodgers, but Bichette showed he can perform on the biggest stage. That matters when you're building a championship roster. Now, here's the reality of signing Bichette. He's likely looking at a 5 to 8 year contract in the range of $25 to $30 million annually. That's a massive commitment both in years and dollars. But if you're the Phillies and you're trying to win right now, while your core is still in their prime, this is exactly the type of player you should be targeting. He brings all-star caliber potential, offensive production, defensive versatility, and he's still young enough that you're not just renting him for a year or two. But the big question everyone's asking is, how does this actually work with the Phillies' current roster? Because let's be real, they've got a crowded infield situation right now. Bryce Harper is locked in long-term at first base. Trea Turner is locked in long-term at shortstop. Alec Boehm is your current third baseman. Bryson Stott has been the primary second baseman. Then you've got Edmundo Sosa in the mix, Otto Kemp waiting for opportunities, and Aiden Miller, their number 2 prospect, who's knocking on the door of the big leagues. So if you sign Bichette, something has to give. Someone has to move. Someone probably has to be traded. There's no way around it. Let me walk you through the 2 most likely scenarios because both have major implications for this franchise. Scenario 1 is you sign Bichette and trade Bryson Stott. In this scenario, Trea Turner remains your long-term shortstop. He's signed through 2033, so he's not going anywhere. That means Bichette slides over to second base, which he's already said he's willing to do. But that creates a problem because Bryson Stott suddenly has no clear role on this team. Stott has played 468 career games at second base in the majors. He's played 110 games at shortstop and only 2 games at third base. And those 2 games were back in his rookie year in 2022. He hasn't touched third base since. So if Bichette is at second and Turner's at short, where does Stott fit? The answer is he probably doesn't. And here's the thing about Bryson Stott. He's too good to be a full-time bench player. He's shown flashes of being a really solid everyday infielder. Yes, he's been inconsistent. Yes, he hasn't fully reached the potential people thought he had, but he's still a starting caliber player who deserves regular at-bats somewhere. If the Phillies sign Bichette, Stott becomes the odd man out, and they'd likely have to trade him to a team that needs middle infield help. Scenario 2 is you sign Bichette and trade Alec Bohm. This one's spicier because Bohm has been in trade rumors for what feels like forever now, going back to last offseason through the trade deadline, and again this winter, his name keeps coming up. Some of that is self-inflicted. The attitude issues, the immaturity at times, the inconsistency, the infamous hot mic moment about the fans, all of that has contributed to a portion of the fan base wanting to move on from him. Bohm is entering a contract year. He's making a little over $10 million this season. He'll be a free agent after 2026, and there's real questions about whether the Phillies even want to re-sign him long-term. He's never fully reached the potential people thought he would. He's about to turn 30, and while he had that all-star season in 2024, he's been frustratingly inconsistent throughout his career. If the Phillies trade Bohm and sign Bichette, you'd have Harper at first, Bichette at second, Turner at short, and then third base becomes a question mark. Your immediate options would be Otto Kemp and Edmundo Sosa, both of whom have shown they can handle the position, but neither of whom is a sure thing as an everyday starter. This scenario also accelerates the timeline for Aiden Miller, the Phillies' top infield prospect. Miller was a first-round pick in 2023. He played shortstop in high school. He's played shortstop throughout the Phillies farm system, but most scouts believe he'll eventually move to third base at the major league level. If Bohm is gone, that pathway to the big leagues opens up significantly. Miller could start the year in AAA, but if Kemp or Sosa struggle, he could get the call sooner than expected. Here's where I land on all this. If the Phillies sign Bichette, Bryson Stott is almost certainly gone. Even in the scenario where they trade Bohm instead, I still think Stott ends up being moved because there's just not enough playing time to go around. You can't keep 3 starting caliber middle infielders on your roster when only 2 positions are available. Someone becomes expendable, and Stott feels like the most likely candidate. The harder question is whether trading Bohm makes more sense than trading Stott. From a pure talent perspective, Bohm probably has more trade value right now. He's had the All-Star season recently. He's got some name recognition around the league, but he's also older, more expensive, and comes with some baggage that might turn off potential trade partners. Stott is younger and cheaper, which makes him attractive to teams, but his inconsistency might lower his trade value compared to what the Phillies would hope to get. It's a legitimate dilemma for Dombrowski, and whatever decision he makes will have ripple effects throughout the organization. Now let's talk about what the infield would actually look like if this happens. In scenario 1, where you sign Bichette and trade Stott, you'd have Harper at first, Bichette at second, Turner at short, and Bohm at third. You know, that's a really solid infield with multiple all-star caliber players. The offensive production would be elite, and you'd have depth with Sosa and potentially Kemp coming off the bench. In scenario 2, where you sign Bichette and trade Bohm, you'd have Harper at first, Bichette at second, Turner at short, and then a mix of Kemp, Sosa, and potentially Miller at third. That's more uncertainty at the hot corner, but it also gives you financial flexibility and opens up opportunities for younger players to step up. There's also a wild card scenario that some people have floated where you move Trey Turner back to the outfield. Turner played some center field earlier in his career, though it was a pretty small sample size. If the Phillies' outfield situation doesn't shake out the way they want, you could theoretically slide Turner to center, put Bichette at short, keep Stott at second, and keep Bohm at third. But that feels like a long shot because it creates more questions than it answers. The reality is Signing Bichette would force the Phillies to make some tough decisions. You can't keep everyone. You can't make everyone happy. Somebody who's currently on this roster is going to have their Phillies career end if Bichette signs here. And that's just the nature of roster construction when you're trying to win now. What makes this situation even more interesting is that Bichette isn't the only big name still available. Alex Bregman is still out there as a free agent. He's a veteran all-star third baseman with championship experience. If the Phillies can't land Bichette, Bregman becomes an interesting alternative, though that would create its own set of roster complications. The bottom line is this. The Phillies are clearly trying to upgrade their roster in a meaningful way. They're not satisfied with running it back with the same group that fell short last year. They see Bichette as a potential difference maker, someone who can lengthen their lineup, provide another legitimate threat in the middle of the order, and give them the depth and versatility they need to compete at the highest level. Whether they can actually pull off a signing like this remains to be seen. The financials are complicated. The roster fit requires some creative maneuvering, and there's competition from other big market teams who also see Bichette as a potential answer. But the fact that the Phillies are in serious discussions tells you everything you need to know about how they view their championship window. It's open right now, and they're willing to be aggressive to maximize it. This offseason is far from over. The Phillies still have moves to make, decisions to finalize, and a roster to construct that can compete for a World Series. The Bichette situation is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, but it's a significant piece that could reshape this franchise for years to come. Stay tuned, because if this actually happens, the ripple effect